Hey designer, Alex here, welcome to the channel, and in today's tutorial it's going to be a bit longer one. I'm going to show you how to take this 3D object, how to animate it in Blender, how to export that animation to After Effects, how to turn it into a Lottie file, use that Lottie for your developers, and how to export this animation as a GIF to use it for preview purposes in Figma like we are doing right here. It's a bit longer tutorial, but all of the links which I mentioned are going to be down in the description below. Make sure to check them out, make sure to make yourself comfortable and enjoy this one. To pull this off and to make everything work as it should, and so it's optimized for best possible usage, we will need 6 things to complete this task. IconScout to get the item, or of course you can get this item wherever you want. Then Blender to animate it and export it as a PNG sequence. On IconScout you can find some free items. Blender is free by nature. We will need After Effects to export it as a Lottie animation using a free plugin. So if you don't have After Effects, you can start with your free trial, for example. A Lottie Files platform to optimize this Lottie for developers, because there are various different Lottie size levels that we can optimize for depending on what our developers support. Media Encoder to export it as a GIF to use it in Figma. Media Encoder also has a free trial that you can use. And then finally Figma to create the actual design of the page and put it all together. And Figma can be free as well on this free plan for this particular tutorial. So to get started, what you can do on IconScout is search for 3D assets. They have 3D illustrations. You can also use GLTF 3D editor if you want to edit it right here, and then export it as a PNG, for example. 3D avatars if you want to create your own, and 3D emojis. For our particular case, I searched for trophy, for example, and I found this one. Now you can take a look at it at 360, but you can also click right here and see how this looks like. But what I'm going to do is just click right here. You can also click download 3D icon and choose the format from here, but I'm going to show you here. So click download, and then you can choose from these different file formats. Now, GLTF is great if you already have a Blender scene, but the Blender file is the best place to get started with this, because the creator of this item already created a Blender file, so you can just download this Blender file and then you can follow along. Then when you open it up in Blender, depending on the item that you downloaded, it can be more complex or less complex depending on what the creator created, as is the same story with all the other items online. First of all, we have this collection which holds the camera for our item. Then we have this collection which holds the actual elements. So if you click on them, you can see what they are. So what I will do is rename this to base, like so, and I will rename this to holder maybe. And then if you click through, you can see statue base or the trophy base or whatever. If I select this one, this is a star, like so, and what's left is this, which is the text, like so, and finally this is the trophy shape, for example. So why this is important? Because when I animate different sections, I want different sections to act differently, and therefore I want to make sure that I can make these changes. So what I will do next is set up my scene. So first of all, I will go with cycles. You can go with Eevee if your computer is a little bit slower, and then you can go with experimental if you want. CPU compute or GPU compute, whatever you have. Then the samples, and the samples here for the noise threshold are really important. The more these samples are right here, so you can put them at 20,000 or whatever, the longer your render time is going to be. I usually like to set them at 64. If your computer is slower, you can use 32 or whatever you want. Then scroll down to film and make sure to check transparent. So just open up film and open up transparent. Just make sure to check this, because this will make your background scene transparent in this case. And what we need here is to go here to the output settings, and I don't need 2000 by 2000, I need like 600 by 600 maybe, and I can even lower that if I want to. Then what I will do is select my camera and go right here to the camera settings. Instead of orthographic, which is this view, I want to make sure that I use perspective. So in the perspective view, what you can do with the camera selected is hold G and then X, which will move your camera, G and then Y, which will move it on the Y axis, and then G and Z if you want to go up and down. I want to go with GX one more time, and you can hit slash on your keyboard and go to the top. The slash is usually below your escape key. So what I will do is, as you can see, camera is positioned right here, and I don't like it being here. I will hold G and then X. You can see the X is the red axis, and then R for rotation, and just hold it like this. What I will then do is, using my mouse selector, I will hold G and then X to move all of my elements across the X axis, and then hit 0 on my numpad to go into camera view. Select the camera, G, X again, just to move it slightly around here. Then select all of it and then hit R and then Z and just click right here. So I will position my trophy to be roughly around here. Hit the camera, G, Y, and then zoom in just slightly to roughly around here. Now, depending on the animation, we can do several different things, but let's just go with this. You can also animate the camera and do stuff like that, but let's not bog down with those details. Right now, I am in the viewport shading mode, but if I switch to here, which is the actual display mode, this is how your final output animation is going to look like with all of the lighting setup. And if you're wondering about the lighting, you can click here to the world view, and you can see that it's using the color shader and it's using the surface shader right here. So the creator of this item already made some changes to it. If you want to change the color of, let's say, this trophy, you can select it and then go to the material view right here, and you can play around with the hex values. You can move this around, you can adjust it however you want, but I'm just going to keep it as it was previously and switch back to here because it loads faster this way. Finally, what I'm going to do is click right here and then make sure to change this to 30 frames per second, render region, so I don't want it to render anything else. Frame starts at first frame, it ends at, let's say if we want our animations to last, let's say 3 seconds, then this will have 90 frames. So 30 frames per second, 3 seconds, it's 90 frames per second. Then what we can do is select the output. In this case, I want to make sure to find a good folder for it, and you can create a folder on your desktop and you can name it whatever you want. So now that I've done that, you can see that I call it trophy and just hit accept. You can make these changes if you want, but you don't need to. And after that's done, basically we are set up with our animation. What I will do is zoom in using my scroll wheel on my mouse, zoom in a little bit more. And then what I can do is, let's say I want to start with this. So this is the text. You can hit S, and before you do, you can go right here. So just S and then X, for example. Once you are inside of this view, so S and then X, and it's going to slide and scale on that level. But what I need is the item here, so just select the item so that you can see the actual axes. So for the X, right click, insert single keyframe, so we want to keep it like here, so let's move to 10 frames for example. S and then X, lower it down, right click, insert single keyframe, and then hit Shift D, move it to 20th frame, so we have 10 and then 10. And if I hit space, you can see how that looks like. Now what you can do is then duplicate this again, hit Shift D and position all 3 of them to, let's say, I don't know, maybe this mark or this mark, whatever you want. And then when you hit space, it's going to play 2 times. So this is how that looks like. And pretty much you do this for all things here. So what we can do here is use this base as a base. So what I will do is select statue base and then holder first, hold shift, click to trophy shape, click to star, and then select the base at the end, hold Control Command P, and then object keep transform. This will transform it and connect it to the base. So now when I hit S, it's going to scale everything, but I don't want it to do that. I want to hold shift and right click to select this portion and then go to object, set origin to 3D cursor, which will make the origin here. So now when I hit S, it's going to scale from this point. What I will do is just move it around a little bit. So let's say at the frame maybe 15, we will go with position this time. So location for the Z, because I want to go up and down. I will hit right click, insert single keyframe, go to 10 frames maybe. You don't have to go 10, you can go 20 or 5 or whatever. Then just hit G and then Z to go to the Z axis right around here. Insert single keyframe and then hit Shift D on this keyframe and move it to 35. What this will do is just nudge it up a little bit, like so. But what I want to do next is I want to play around with scale. So here I will go scale, Z, right click, insert single keyframe. Then go here maybe. I will go SZ and then just nudge it up just slightly like so. Right click, insert single keyframe. And then go here, copy this value from Z. Go to 25 and paste it here, right click, insert single keyframe. And we need to do, replace single keyframe. Let's do it like that. So now it jumps. And then when it starts to go down, roughly around here, I want to set the Z again, but even before that, maybe here. So SZ, and then just nudge it slightly, insert single keyframe, and then go here, select this value, go back to here maybe, and then paste this value, insert single keyframe. So what all of this is doing is just squishing it in a little bit, as you can see. And now we will just play around with rotation. So if it jumps roughly around here, we will rotate the Z axis, and let's see, maybe roughly around here, or even better, maybe we can just nudge it like this. So as it goes to here, Y axis is at 0, so insert single keyframe, go to here, Y axis is, let's say, 2 or 4, insert, and then when it goes to here, let's place it at 0, like so, insert keyframe. So now when you play it, it's going to look like this. Finally, what I will do is maybe just make the star just slightly bigger and smaller. So let's see, when I select this, we have some action at around frame 20. So maybe we can start there and then end at frame, let's say 30. So frame 10, the star, let's hit S, insert keyframes. So this will allow us to scale it on all 3 axes. Go to frame 25, S, and then just scale it and insert keyframes, and then just duplicate this one, Shift D, put it to frame 30. So as you can see, our star is now jumping and playing around. So that's pretty much it for the animation. Next thing what I will do is, because we set all of this up, now we have a destination folder. I want to render this out. So render animation, and again, depending on how fast your computer is, it's going to start animating frame by frame. You can see the process right here. You can see how many of the memory it took. This animation is stupidly simple, as you can see. And of course, I would go maybe introduce a bit more rotation to it, a bit more scale, maybe even animate the camera movement, because I really like to introduce a bit of atmosphere to my animations, and maybe it can spin around completely. Maybe the star can be pushed forwards and backwards. So you get the idea. This is all just up to you and how you want your animations to look like. In the next part, I will take you to After Effects and show you how to organize this sequence. When you open up After Effects, you will need new composition. Inside of the new composition, you will need some settings. So I already set some, so 600 by 600, 30 frames per second, and 3 seconds for the duration. Background color you can keep a black, and if you want, you can also remove it by using this one. And I want to show you how the actual export of the trophy looks like. And this is how this export actually looks like. So from the frame 1 all the way to frame 90, this is your PNG sequence. So however you set it up back in Blender, this is how it's going to play out. So what I would like you to do, because there are some bugs in After Effects from time to time, make sure to remember where your animation is actually starting from. So of course it's from the frame 1, but what happens first? In our case, the text starts moving right here. So this is what we need to make at the beginning, because After Effects oftentimes confuses frames. So it often shows you this frame at the start. So I want to make it start where this text starts. So if we go back to here, what we need to do next is just take all of these files and just drag and drop them right here in our composition. So what we can do is drag and position them right here. And as you can see, they are out of order. So I don't want to do that, because I want to make sure that I position all of them as they should be. So I will go back, hold my controller command key, deselect the first, select the first again, hold my shift key, and then drag and drop them right here. Now they are in correct order, so just pay attention to how your layers are ordered right here. Next up is to reduce the time of the actual keyframes. So just hold this pink part with your left mouse click all the way to the end, so they are 1 frame long, and then go to the animation, keyframe assistant, and sequence layers. Now this is the most stubborn part of After Effects, so when you hit OK, this is what I was afraid of. So as you can see, the first frame is actually our last frame. So what this is doing, if you hit space, is it's starting from the back. So as you can see, we are starting with the empty bit of animation, and then it starts, and then it jumps. So perhaps it's good that it's doing this from this part, but I don't really like that. So what you can do is hold Ctrl X to cut all, Ctrl V to paste all, and then hope for the best in this part. If you don't, sometimes in the newest versions of After Effects we can position this, but it did the same thing again, as you can see. So what you can do is do this for a couple of times, hope for the best, and then if you don't get the desired outcome, you have to do all of these things manually. So what I will do in this case is deselect everything, click on the last one, Ctrl X, Ctrl V, and paste them the wrong way around again. Animation, keyframe assistant, sequence layers, and just try, and no, this didn't do what I wanted. So let me try one last time, because I don't have this setting on my version of After Effects, but usually in the keyframe assistant you can right click on your layers and then you can reorder them that way. Now as you can see, they are the right way around. So this purple bit is the first, and if you go all the way down to frame 90 right here, you can see that this frame is the last, which is what we actually want. So if I hit space right here, you can see that it's playing the correct way around and it's looping, which is what I want. The next step is to go to the window and then go to extensions and install body moving. You can look online on YouTube how to install this in your After Effects. It's really quite straightforward. You just need to do a bit of research regarding if you have some limitations in your After Effects, because sometimes it's a bit stubborn and it doesn't want to work from the get-go, so you will have to play around with some settings. Most importantly, you will have to go to File and then Extensions, and then allow a few things just in order to make it work. Then when your body moving is loaded, all you have to do is hit Selected, so it's exporting the selected layers right here, and make sure all of them are selected, as you can see right here. Go to the settings, go to the assets, and then include in JSON. This will include rasterized images encoded in the JSON, because we're using rasterized and not vector images. Then destination folder. You can select the same folder as you did. So I will select the trophy and just hit save. I'll show you how this looks like. So you can select basically the same folder right here and just call it trophy Lottie, for example. Hit save, and then all you have to do is hit render. Now, depending on how many frames you have, how big your animation is, that's why we went, instead of 2000 by 2000, we went with 600 by 600, because this way it's going to load much faster, and you don't even need 2000 by 2000 because that's just too big either way, and your developers will then have to lower down the size in code, which is not what you want either way. Now when this is done, just hit done and close this window. One final thing I want to do, because Figma doesn't support Lottie natively, you have to use GIF files. Sadly, in Adobe XD it supports it natively, but we know what happened with Adobe XD. So what we can do in this case is hit composition and then add to Adobe Media Encoder queue. Just click there. What this will do is open up the Adobe Media Encoder, and in this program you can export it natively as a GIF. I will show you how that looks like. All you have to do is pretty much just select the destination folder. So what we will do is I will show you how this window looks like right here. So as you can see, it's already prepared. I didn't do anything, it did this by nature. All I have to do is just click here and select the folder, and I will use this same folder called trophy, and I can call it maybe trophy GIF, just so that I can differentiate what's going on. Hit save and then just click this green little triangle, and as you can see, it's going to export it as GIF. Now this process takes a couple of seconds, as you can see right here. And when it's done, all you have to do is just close this and then just close this. You can save this out if you want to, but I'm not going to for this tutorial. The next step in this process is the actual Lottie files platform. Why we need this? Because we want to optimize this Lottie for our developers, or if you're using this with Webflow or with any other no-code tool such as Framer, then you can just drag and drop the lower size version, if you know what I mean. So I will show you that in just a second, but basically what you need is you need to create an account here and then just go to the dashboard. What I have is I have this folder called restored Alex, and what I will do is just go to my folder where I exported this, and this is my trophy Lottie. All you have to do is just drag and drop it right here, and after it uploads, it's going to display it with all of its options. And when it does, you can see the animation right here. So this is our original file size. So Lottie JSON, as you can see, it's 3.69 megabytes. Optimize Lottie JSON, which is the most used across the web usually, is 1.44 megabytes in size. And if your platform and your developers support optimized.lottie file format, this is the best one because it's 1.6 megabytes. So you can see how you can halve the size of your Lotties. All you have to do is just download it right here. You can play around with different size if you want to, and then you can download it at that size, at that speed. So if I want to make it faster, I can go 2 times, for example, and just download it at that previous speed, but I'll just keep it at 1. This is all I have to do for here. The next step is Figma. Now here in Figma, I set up this file. It's really quite simple. What I will do is just replace this PNG placeholder with my GIF. And to do that, GIF is right here. If you remember, we named it trophy GIF. I will just drag and drop it into Figma right here, and then just drag and position it right here. Then get rid of this trophy because I'm using auto layout. It's playing a little bit. What I will do, because we are not scaling left and right, we're just scaling up and down. I'll just crop it a little bit, like here, and then like here, for example. There you go. And then what I will do is increase the size of it a little bit, perhaps do something like this maybe. And now this auto layout scaled nicely, so I'll just snap it in the middle. And the last thing we have to do is just preview it. Now here is our final result, and after all of this work, you can see how this looks like. So it's keep playing inside of Figma as a GIF. You can play around with this GIF, set up the starting frames and stuff like that, but you can just leave it as it is right here. And of course, this is not the best quality of it. You saw that, you know, on Lottie Files platform, the quality is much better, and this is the actual quality from Lottie that your developers are going to get, that you can use in your Webflow websites or your Framer websites or whatever. And then this is the quality that your users can expect. This GIF is just for preview purposes, and you can communicate this with your clients if you're going to work this, because as I said, Figma still doesn't support Lottie files natively, so you have to use GIF. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. All the links to everything I mentioned are going to be down in the descriptions below. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, because a lot of new tutorials are coming your way. So if you enjoy content like this, make sure to subscribe, and until next one, take care.